Yo, my friends, how y'all doing today? It's time once again for Burgers and Fries Game Talk with a shake. Yeah, like I said I'd be back. I'd be back in full force with these here. And what a way to continue here with episode 17 of my Burgers and Fries Game Talk with a shake. And joining me once again is
It's me, Desert Coyote 22.
that's you, all right, right, Anthony. I told you'd be back for another episode, and and
You convinced me.
yeah, and the other two people couldn't make it. Well, my other host, so Sedetta Hyperlamnia, couldn't make it today because she's sick. But she wanted to mention wanted me to mention some topics and stuff in this podcast for her. So Sedetta the Hyperlamnia, I will fulfill your wish indeed. And today we're gonna be talking about our favorite video game soundtracks with some video game soundtracks that we don't like. Now, when it comes to video game soundtracks, a lot of them are very catchy. They make the game go with the flow, and good music does help for a good game. It's not the main thing to making a good game, but a lot of them have great music and memorable music too. And of course, like I already mentioned, like playing Super Mario World, how I first heard video game music and stuff like that, like the overworld world themes and all that stuff, and like Yoshi's Island themes, all that stuff, and it brings back a lot of fantastic memories for me because it's like me to kill all over again. But I mentioned maybe I want to talk about ones that I'm a big fan of here. I know Anthony was going to talk about that too, and I wanna list starting off here. What a way to start off with. We're talking about the soundtracks from my favorite video game franchise, Tekken. Now we all know Tekken was first in the arcade and had that soundtrack, but then when they ported it to the home consoles, I mean made it the PlayStation, they had a remix soundtrack and an arcade soundtrack. You can choose from one or the other, but for me, when it comes to like choosing between one or the other, I always prefer the originals the best. I'm not a big fan of remixes or any of that stuff, so I gotta say I go with the original arcades. And I don't know what Anthony has to say about that. I know we were talking about this a little bit ago, but Anthony,
Well,
you
of
talk.
all the Tekken soundtracks, especially from the PS1 days, Tekken 2 is what I remember the most. And I think there were actually both remix or the arcade. They had their best ones, and then they had their not so good ones. So good. I liked them from either one. But I
Yeah,
do remember having memories where, I mean, remember, this is the year 1999, 2000-ish. I'm in sixth grade at this point, and I remember just really liking the music from Tekken 2. So what I would do is I would get a tape recorder, and I would actually just turn the game on and just have um, the timer off, so it would just go infinite. And I would actually just sit there, let the tape recorder sit there, and record the music.
I never thought of
That
that.
was the only way I could do it at that time. So I did that definitely with Tekken 2. But unfortunately, sometimes parents would walk in and like, Anthony, what are you doing? And well, I'm recording this recording the soundtrack. And I never, again, you couldn't exactly edit out on your tape recorder recording, so you just left it in and go from there. You never tried that, Tony?
No, I never thought of trying that. I may be in like the age of 10 and just fear just listen to it and stuff, which I'll get to in a little bit. But you brought up you brought up the Tekken soundtracks here. I don't know if you knew this, but like a lot of the songs for the hidden characters in Tekken 2 were in the original Tekken. For like I don't know if you played the original Tekken, but like this a lot like the soundtrack for Tekken 1 they share with Tekken 2 for the hidden characters. Like for example, the thing Kato Japan is Ganru's theme in Tekken 2, and Ankawa Cambodia is Kunimitsu's theme in Tekken 2, and the Marine Stadium Japan theme is Bruce Irvin's theme, and trying to think, Queen George Island is Anna Williams, and so on.
I
So,
get the
but
point, Tony.
yes,
Where there's only so much.
but I'm getting the point. Like there was
Tony, there's
one.
only so much we can say, dude.
I,
I don't
I,
want to. I don't
I,
want this to go on forever.
I know, but I'm getting to the point of saying like there was one song which was not in Tekken 2, which is probably the best one of Tekken 1, the Venezia Italy lead track and stuff. But like and when we talk about good Tekken soundtracks, the best soundtrack out of that was Tekken 3. Tekken 3 had the best soundtrack out of the PS1 Tekkens, and it just all the music just feels so lifelike and stuff, especially the hidden character theme where all the hidden characters in the arcade soundtrack share the same song. But I'm okay because the song is very catchy. While in the remix soundtrack they all have their own theme stuff, but I'm okay with it because it's that's just who I am. And yeah. But It is very cool how they got the option to choose from one of the two soundtracks and stuff. And the funny thing is, I didn't even know about changing the soundtracks until I was 12 years old when I was messing around the options theme and saw like how the menu like that theater mode option in Tekken 3 where you can mess around with like the soundtrack and stuff. And I was like, damn, I did not know about this. What the fuck? I mean, the whole time I could have been playing with the better soundtrack, and ever since I found that, I've been using the arcade soundtrack through all the Tekkens and stuff.
Okay, well that sounds great, but there is a shitload of games that we also want to talk about.
Of
So
course.
let's not spend too much more time on Tekken. I've said Tekken 2 is definitely it's an honorable mention for me, but it's not one of my top 10, which is what I want to start getting to, unless there's another honorable mention you want to go over.
Well, an honorable mention that for me would probably have to be Soul Blade, aka Soul Legisol, because they're both in the same company. Because that game had three soundtracks: the original arcade, the arranged version, and its own soundtrack called Con Super Session, which is usually I would use the arcade soundtrack, but since the music's so good for Super Session, I picked that one. And because believe me, the songs are like it's all different songs. There's not like a different version of like the arcade or remixing. It's their own thing, which is pretty cool. And I stuck with that one ever since because it sounds like very lifelike and just very upbeat.
All right, well, let's start going into your top 10. So my first top 10 would be Fire Emblem. It's not the first Fire Emblem made. It was on the Game Boy Advance, but technically it's Fire Emblem the Blazing Blade. Did you ever play that game, Tony?
Never played a Fire Emblem game in my life. The only thing I can tell you that is playing as Martha and Roy from Smash Bros. Melee.
Well, Martha and Roy are definitely not in this Fire Emblem that I played. But if you've never played Fire Emblem, I guess you don't get the gameplay itself. If you're not really into turn-based strategy, then
Nope.
Fire Emblem.
Nope.
Then Fire Emblem is definitely not for you. But I dug it when it came out, and there's parts of it where it's very lighthearted, very beautiful sounding, and then there's the darker stuff as you get further into the game. And actually, there's a character on that game that I forgot to mention in our favorite female protagonist, and that would be Lynn. So I'm beating myself up for not mentioning Lynn in that game. But yeah. That's number 10 in my list. Tony, you're number 10.
My number 10? Simple.
Yeah.
Air Combat, aka Ace Combat. Keep the first Ace Combat. That I love the guitar riffs in that game. The guitar riffs are they have that early 990s feel to, especially the hangar theme where you're picking an aircraft and stuff. And it's interesting because like with this game, you can put the game in your CD player and you can listen to the music from there and stuff, and then voila. And since it was one of the first PS1 games I ever got, it's a very memorable soundtrack, and like other times I just put on my Walkman and just listen to it when I was doing my homework, just chilling and stuff like that, just jamming out to it or on my stereo and stuff. It was pretty interesting to learn that you could do stuff with PS1 games and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And but it just beats it has that Japanese flying guitar riff feel to it. And that's my number 10.
Gotcha. All right. Well, my number 9 is Brutal Legend. Have you heard of that game, Tony?
Yeah, with Jack Black. Yeah.
Okay. I actually met Jack Black and talked to him about it at the game at San Diego Comic-Con. So he actually was pretty thrilled to hear that I played it because not everybody dug it. They didn't exactly get the system because first you think, oh, it's you as Jack Black with an axe and you're hacking and slashing. And then all of a sudden the real-time strategy elements come in and you're like, what the fuck is this? But the best part about that game is the soundtrack easily. And you know why it's the best, why the soundtrack is the best part? Tell me, Tony, why would this soundtrack be really, really good to me?
Jack Black. That's why.
No, not Jack Black. What type of music is very, very prevalent in this game?
Rock.
No, metal.
Oh,
heavy metal. So classic Sabbath. So what I love about the soundtrack here is that the type of music actually it actually advances the story as well. So you kind of start off in your own little headquarters, and you represent the classic metal. So you represent Black Sabbath and Motorhead and Judas Priest. But then your first enemy faction is the Hair Metal Nation. So the enemy nation represents Motley Crue and Poison and Rat and all of those bands. And then as you get further along, then the next enemy faction is Drowning Doom. So then you're thinking gothic metal and doom metal, and you're getting into the death metal territory where you're starting getting into the scream. And then the other faction is Tainted Coil, which was represented by new metal and industrial. So Tainted Coil is guys like Nine Inch Nails and KMFDM and Rammstein. And Drowning Doom is people. It's hard to is people like Cradle of Filth along those lines. So my brother-in-law is the one who introduced me to this game. He bought it for me as a Christmas present, and he told me, Anthony, I really like the music in this. It actually got me into metal. So that's why I love this soundtrack on Brutal Legend. And that's my number 9. Your number 9, Tony.
My number 9 would probably be Sonic Adventure. Simple because of the vocal tracks and some of the non-vocal tracks too. I don't know if you played Sonic Adventure, Anthony, but like I'm sure you probably heard about those vocal tracks by the band Crush 40.
What system is Sonic Adventure on?
It's on the Dreamcast, PlayStation, and Nintendo GameCube is the Director's Cut, and on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 is Sonic Adventure.
I asked the original, not every console.
Dreamcast.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. And
no, I never had a Dreamcast, so I never got to play it.
Oh, okay, because they re-released it for the GameCube and PS3 and 360 as well. I was asking about.
Never wasn't interested when I have a PS3, and I wasn't much of a GameCube guy.
I take you weren't a big Sonic fan. I take it, so you're probably more.
Not necessarily. I'm going to give an honorable mention for Sonic. That would be Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Sega Genesis. That soundtrack kills.
I never thought of that.
Oh, no. I mean, Sonic 2 was probably the first Sonic game I did play for the Genesis, and I remember having, because my sister and I would often do the co-op mode, so I would be Tails, she would be Sonic, and we would go through that game. So you'd hear that soundtrack constantly, and it always has a special place in my heart. So no, I am a fan of Sonic, I just never got to the later Sonic games, Tony.
Makes sense, yeah. But I liked it because like it was the first Sonic game to have like vocal tracks and stuff, and I thought, whoa, Sonic game with music with vocal tracks. This is really cool. I wonder who the band is, and then you try to find it. You don't know who it is until Broadband comes out, and you find the band's called Crush 40. It's a Japanese American rock band where like all the guys with instruments are like are Japanese, while the singers are Canadian or like American or so. And probably the best song in that, I know I'm going to get some shit for this, is Amy Rose's theme, My Sweet Passion, because I like Nikki Gregory. She's a great singer from Canada. And I got to give an honorable mention to Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Heroes and Shadow Hedgehog 2, because all their vocal tracks are good too. Mainly Sonic Heroes because Kay Hanley does the vocals for Follow Me for Team Rose Team. She's in the band Letters to Cleo, one of my favorite rock bands.
If it's a bunch of useless facts about music I don't care about, Tony, we don't need to keep
just some tidbits, yeah. But of course, like Sonic Adventure 2 had the same song, just that they made them all different for like the game and stuff. But when it comes to vocal tracks, the Sonic Adventure has the better ones, and they're longer too. And of course, like I'm gonna end here with saying like there's a big variety of them too. Sonic is like a rock song. Tails is a pop rock song sung by a woman. Knuckles is a rap song with some singing in it. Amy Rose is like some cutesy love pop song, and Big the Cat is like some reggae popish rock song, and E102 is just basically instrumental techno, and then you got the main theme, Open Your Heart.
These are characters I don't know who they are, Tony. I don't. It's okay.
Well, okay, but you get what I'm saying there. But
yes, I do get. I get what you're saying, and that sounds pretty cool.
Yep, and that's my number 9. Now your number 8.
My number 8 is TMNT Turtles in Time, Ninja Turtles. Both the arcade and the SNES soundtrack. And before we talk about why I really like the Turtles in Time soundtrack, Tony, let's talk about when they re-released TMNT Turtles in Time Reshelled and how much that soundtrack blew.
It was
and
just
why go ahead.
Remixed tracks of the original songs, like Pizza Power and all that stuff.
Well, it didn't even sound right. They said it was a remix, but it was very clear that whoever released this game didn't want to be dealing with copyright issues or licensing, so they tried to make the soundtrack sound as similar to the original Turtles in Time as possible, but the notes are definitely not the same. It just I remember playing it. I'm just like, this just doesn't feel right. All
No.
right, because the original Turtles in Time is fucking awesome. I was always every time I played that game, then I would go to school and I would always have the pirate ship theme stuck in my head, or the original, Big Apple, 3 a.m. That song, Alley Cat Blues was always stuck in my head a lot of times. And again, it's a predominantly hard rock, heavy metal soundtrack, so it's another soundtrack that led to my taste in heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Yeah.
So what do you? So you've played this game. What do you think about this soundtrack?
I love the soundtrack. It's better than the original arcade soundtrack, definitely. And the reshelled one, stay away from that. The Super Nintendo version and the Genesis versions had better soundtracks than that.
Right, Hyperstone Heist basically was the Super Nintendo, but in a Genesis version. So yeah, take your pick. If you get Hyperstone Heist or the SNES, it's basically the same song, and they're fucking awesome.
I agree. My number 8, Space Channel 5, starring Ooh La La, the report of Ooh La La Swing Report Show. And I don't know if Anthony's heard of Space Channel 5, but
I have not. So what system was it on, and why is the music of this game so good?
Dreamcast and PlayStation 2. And
Okay.
I like it because it's upbeat, catchy techno pop stuff for like a rhythm-based game. And it fits the theme of like aliens are taking over and forcing people to dance and groove and boogie and stuff. And it has it like, okay, we're at there's a crisis going on, but everyone's dancing. Let's make the soundtrack all upbeat and catchy and memorable.
Sounds good to me. Is there anything else you need to say about this game before we go on to our number sevens?
No, except for the fact that when you're playing the game and you gotta mimic the aliens' movements, get up, up, down, 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 it kind of makes the music a little more enjoyable.
All right.
And
Okay.
yep, and and a little honorable mention of Space Channel 5 Part 2 because it's got the same kind of track with some rock stuff in it. That's all I gotta say. Moving on. Now you go.
That's okay. If you want to say anything, is there anything else you want to say about Space Channel 2 before we go to number seven?
Well, it's got some of the songs have lyrics in them and got some guitar riffs in them, and like it makes that soundtrack good. But I gotta say, they're both equally good in my opinion. That's what I gotta say.
Okay. Very good. All right. Number seven. I know you've played this game. The very first Spyro the Dragon on PlayStation 1.
Oh yeah, any PlayStation owner has played that.
So, of course, you play the original Spyro, and I just remember just getting really into the music as I was playing it. Um, I love the Toasty theme, just kind of the epic build up to it, and then the payoff of that song. Especially the songs in the later part of the game. So when you go in the Nasty's world, Twilight Harbor is really good. The final boss theme is really good. Even the calmer stuff, like the end credits song, is really good. So we all can attribute to just Stuart Copeland being a fucking genius when he made this soundtrack.
I agree, yeah, because the soundtrack was very catchy, almost as good as Crash Bandicoot's soundtrack as well, because that was like fire and ice.
I played CTR, Crash Team Racing, and I remember enjoying that soundtrack a lot, but I never really played the straightforward Crash games.
Makes sense, yeah, that's understandable.
Is there anything of the Spyro soundtrack that you like?
Well, I basically like how it's upbeat for the bright and colorful worlds you go and explore. It fits that fancy dragon-like theme.
Oh yeah, even every world has a theme that you remember. Like I forget, like Dark Town or whatever. Um, one of the canyons. Like, oh my God, there's just too many to count. And then when you go into Peacekeeper's world, and then you go into the canyon, you go into the town. Um, there's just too many to count. To be honest, it's clearly one of the best ones of all time, at least in my opinion.
I agree.
So that's my number seven. What would be your number seven?
Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. the the a game that like a lot of people just step over. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis has one of the best soundtracks. A lot of people say Resident Evil 1 and 2 soundtrack is better. I disagree. Resident Evil 3 soundtrack is better. And because like I'll admit, yes, Resident Evil went for horror. These two went for say like approach horror, something like that. So if that makes sense. But like Resident Evil 3 and 3 Nemesis, my favorite song in that game is the save room theme called Free from Fear. It fits it's the best save room theme out of the bunch because it sounds like a very calm or relaxing save room theme. You don't have to worry there's like nothing danger going on and stuff like that. Although they think the only danger you could say is that one of the save room doors is locked, you need a lockpick to open the door and stuff. And of course Resident Evil 3 has Nemesis, my favorite character, Jill Valentine in it. And of course, as a song from Resident Evil 2, the Raccoon Police Department first floor theme in it. You know, when you go to the police station for like a little part of the game, and I like it because it has that moments of like how it's it got some references of Resident Evil 1 music so like that with the way the instruments play and stuff, especially when you get to the clock tower and the hospital which blows up and of course like Uptown when you with the City in Ruin theme and stuff. When I first heard that song, I thought it was a positive song because you got farther in the game. When you hear the title's called City in Ruin, then you know you were way off there definitely. And I just feel like Resident Evil 3 Nemesis had the best soundtrack right there, and the Resident Evil 3 remake has some songs from the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis in there, so I just had to point that out there.
Sounds good. All right, my number 6 is Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And Tony, you're predominantly a PlayStation guy. I get that. Did you play any Zelda games?
I did, and I didn't like any of them.
Why not?
I was never big into Zelda. I thought Zelda was very boring. I couldn't get into them at all. As much as I tried to, I couldn't.
Okay. Zelda was one of the first games I played on the SNES, and then as much as I love A Link to the Past soundtrack, I can actually give a huge honorable mention to Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, because one would think, oh, it's Game Boy, you're not going to get that good of a score on it, and it actually can be just as good as any of the Zelda games that are out there. But there's just way too many memorable themes. The overworld theme, the dungeon theme, the Dark World dungeon theme, the boss theme, and then of course the theme song that plays when you complete the game and you get the ultra happy ending. Zelda throughout history has always had really, really good music in my book. At least for the games that I played. I mean, the games that I played are at least all the original ones from NES and SNES and all of the Game Boy ones. I did get into Ocarina of Time for the N64 a little bit, and I do remember liking that. But if there is a bad Zelda soundtrack in the comments, somebody let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Your number 6.
Hyperdimension Neptunia Mark II for the PlayStation 3, starring Neptune's CPU candidate younger sister. Now, if anyone has ever played Hyperdimension Neptunia, I'm almost 100% sure Anthony has not played this. He's probably never heard of it unless he's talked to me a few times and stuff there too. But
I definitely have not heard of it.
Well, I'm going to give you a little brief history before I talk about the soundtrack here. Hyperdimension Neptunia is a JRPG that pretty much mocks the console war. Like, you got, that takes place in the world called game industry. You got Purple Heart Neptune, who's basically named after the canceled Sega Neptune, and you got, Noir Blackheart, who's, the PlayStation 3. Blanc Leanbox, who's the Nintendo, Block Weinhardt Leanbox, who's the Nintendo Wii. And you got Vert Greenheart from Leanbox. I mean, sorry, they're like Vert, who's Greenheart and stuff, who's the Xbox 360 and such. And then in Mark II, you play the CPU candidates and stuff, which is like Nepgear, who's the Sega Nepgear, and Sega Game Gear and stuff. But I'm just saying there. But the first soundtrack was not that good. It sounded like kind of out of place. But the second one and up are very catchy and upbeat, and they fit much better. A lot of the songs were from Neptunia Mark II were used in the sequels and stuff, which is fine with me. I mean, like they feel more upbeat and catchy, and they feel and they're not as boring to listen. It doesn't feel as boring as the original soundtrack, Hybrid Neptunium, which did get a lot of hate. Which was the first one did get a lot of hate, but I liked it for what it is and stuff. That's just me. But in my opinion, because like Nepgear is my favorite character of the Neptunia franchise, I gotta give this Brian points here because this is the game to introduce those upbeat tracks that the sequels use and everything. So that's why I'm putting Mark II on this list. Now you go.
Okay. Number 5, I did briefly mention this game in the female protagonist podcast last one, but this would be Valis the Phantasm Soldier on the Sega Genesis. So this is another. It's a typical action platformer on the Genesis. It's not that great of a game. It's fun. It's easy to play. It's easy to digest into. But the soundtrack alone is worth your time. From the main theme to the first level, there's always just something really memorable with it. I mean, and again, you seem to like a lot of Japanese soundtracks, and I can safely say there's a lot of Japanese rock flavor in this soundtrack as well. So you definitely should give this soundtrack a listen, Tony. Or if you don't like Genesis music, then you can find the TurboGrafx 16 version, which is a lot less, which doesn't sound like the Genesis. It's more real instruments, I should say.
Yeah,
less compressed, sounds a little better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Valis is another. It's a game I used to get a lot when I was a kid, when I would rent from the video store. And then when I would finally play it again in emulation, I just went, yep, I remember. This is why I remember the game. It's always the music.
Mm-hmm.
You're number 5.
Ooh, this is a tough one here. I'd probably have to say Revolution X for one reason.
Really?
For one
really?
reason.
I love that soundtrack.
And you know why? Aerosmith.
Well,
that's why.
That's right. Aerosmith.
I have to, and even though that the game is not the best, Aerosmith is in it, and that kicks ass. And
it does. Now, there's really only 4 Aerosmith songs in there. I mean, it's Do Look Like a Lady, Eat the Rich. Ragdoll. What's the other one? I think they're either 3 or 4.
I can't remember.
But then, of course, there's actually original score that's meant to sound like Aerosmith, which is actually really good. So when you're playing through the levels, when you're just shooting all the motherfuckers, it's largely original score. Now, what system did you play Revolution X on, Tony?
Take a guess.
The arcade?
Nope.
Super Nintendo?
Nope.
Genesis?
Nope.
Okay, you tell me.
The PlayStation.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Because it was released on the Saturn and the PlayStation as well. So yeah, if you played it on that system, the soundtrack and the graphics were a lot less compressed than they were on the 16 bits.
Yeah, and the voice sample sounded a lot clearer too. But it was interesting how they were able to get Steven Tyler to talk to you in the Super Nintendo and Genesis version stuff.
Oh yeah, getting all the members of Aerosmith to talk to you that way, and that wasn't really done that much at the time. So it was a very big novelty game, and it's sad that kind of concept didn't really take off until later. But maybe it's because the game itself was just a simple arcade rail shooter.
Well, if you want to get technical, they do also talk to you, and this is off topic here, they talk to you in the Disney ride, Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, which I don't know if you've ever heard of that ride, but we're talking about Aerosmith is why I was bringing that up.
At where? Disney World?
Walt Disney World in Florida.
Well, I live in California. Why would I ever need to go to Disney World when I have Disneyland 30 minutes away from me?
I think it's in Disneyland also. I don't remember. I've never been to Disneyland before.
No, I've been to Disneyland many times. Never saw it.
Oh, then never mind. But I just don't know if you ever heard of the ride. You heard of the ride?
No, not really. Never heard of the ride. But that sounds good concept. But hey, you finally pick a soundtrack that I remember. I'm like, yeah, finally.
I knew you would like that. You would remember because I know you're a big Aerosmith fan, Anthony. That's why I was.
I'm not necessarily a big Aerosmith fan. My number one band will always be Metallica. So you can put an honorable mention, Guitar Hero Metallica, but really? That's because you're playing. That's because you're playing the Metallica songs on the controller.
Well, I would, I would, but there's only one album I like from them that's Reloaded and Unforgiven 2 and Fuel are my only two songs I like by them, so that's why I couldn't really mention that.
So the only album that you like is Reload, which is often considered the worst of the Metallica albums,
Well,
along with Saint Anger.
well, the first Metallica song I ever heard was Unforgiven 2, and it was on that show on
That's
MTV. It was
that's fair because that's one of my favorite songs.
it was on the show Say What by on MTV, which had the lyrics for the hearing impaired, and that's how I first learned about Metallica actually.
That's fair, but no, I mean, yeah, I like Aerosmith. I like what they have done, and without Aerosmith, there is no Metallica. I respect them, and but hey, Revolution X definitely even if you're playing a game that's not that good, at least the music kicks ass, right?
Exactly.
All right, ready for my number 4?
Oh yeah, if you are.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Sega Genesis.
What makes it that one memorable?
It is a lot better than the Super Nintendo of the time. So the Genesis game that came out, first of all the Sega games when the first season of Power Rangers came out, all the Sega games had the Green Ranger, but the Super Nintendo did not, or the Game Boy did not.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
that's one reason why the Genesis games were better. And the Super Nintendo has a much heavy, not the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis has a much heavier sound when you compare it to the Super Nintendo game. So, and then I remember listening to this soundtrack a lot, playing it as a kid. And then as I started getting into bands like Metallica, I'm thinking, whoa, this Minotaur stage, that sounds a little bit like Shortest Straw, or just kind of the buildup of it. So a lot of these games that I pick often were reasons why I developed a taste in the heavy metal music later on. And this is definitely one of them. And the cool thing about this game, I could say, is there actually is a hidden song that you can only listen to in the sound check in the options menu. It must have been for a stage that was never used, but it's one of the best songs on the game, and it's not part of the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any games you remember, Tony, where there's an unused track in the sound check that is actually better than some of the tracks in the game?
Oh yes, definitely. GoldenEye 007 with Nintendo 64. There's Jet Force Gemini and Perfect Dark, and the Ace Combat games too had some unused tracks you can only hear by putting the CD into a CD player and stuff. So yeah, that's more common than you think.
Well, I guess I'm glad it's more common, but yeah, the Genesis game does a lot to make it does a lot to, if you ever played it now, you would just get a little nostalgia trip because this game feels just like the show, and then the music is very on par with the old show. It sounds very similar to the old Ron Wasserman soundtrack, which in itself was a very hard rock heavy metal soundtrack, as you remember.
Mm-hmm. I do.
All right, so that's my number 4. Your number 4.
Twisted Metal. Simple as that.
Okay.
Twisted Metal, car combat, rockin' soundtrack at its finest. But if we're gonna get technical here, like Twisted Metal 2 had some kick-ass music too, but Twisted Metal 3 and 4 had music by Rob Zombie, and even though 3 and 4 were not that good, it had license rights by Rob Zombie and a couple other bands too and stuff. But I didn't really like Twisted Metal 3 and 4. I mean, Twisted Metal 3 and 4 are good games just compared to it, but they're just not very good Twisted Metal games. But still, that's kind of off topic there. But Twisted Metal, the first two Twisted Metal games had some awesome, memorable music, especially the Twisted Main theme for Twisted Metal. That is a memorable thing. Anybody who played Twisted Metal, that song will be drilled into your head for forever till the day you die and stuff, because it's very, very upbeat and catchy and just holy crap. Wow. Memories trip down memory lane. And if you ever played Twisted Metal, you would actually like the soundtrack and stuff. But like Twisted Metal Black was more of an orchestral haunting like soundtrack. But like we're talking about like the main game here is what I mean.
Oh, I like orchestra soundtracks. Yes, I'm a metalhead, but I love a good orchestra soundtrack.
Me too.
Which among the games that I've listed have good orchestra soundtracks. So we all like that stuff.
Yes, definitely. I completely agree. And I had to mention Twisted Metal because like you and me, knowing you would probably like this soundtrack and the games too.
I bet I would.
Oh yeah. That's my
All
number
right,
4.
that's your number four. You ready? My number three, Streets of Rage 2 on the Sega Genesis.
Hmm.
Now, did you play any of the Streets of Rage games at all
No,
on
I
the
never, I
Genesis?
never owned a Genesis as a kid.
Okay. Did you ever play Final Fight? Did you ever play any of those games?
No,
So you never really played a beat 'em up game.
I played a couple of them, like Turtles in Time and Separate and Spider-Man, Separation Anxiety and stuff. I played beat 'em ups like Fighting Force and other ones too on the
Oh,
PlayStation.
Maximum Carnage. That's an honorable mention for sure. Um,
Well,
it-
I know why.
yeah,
I know why.
and you know exactly why, because it's a very heavy very heavy metal soundtrack. And there's actually on that soundtrack, there's one that one of the boss themes is literally note for note "Mob Rules" by Black Sabbath.
That's why I meant. That's why I knew you were gonna mention it. 'Cause I know you're a big Black Sabbath fan.
What's my top band again?
Um, Metallica.
I thank you. I was about to say I fucking said it. Um, I'm not as big of a Black Sabbath fan as I am a Metallica fan. So, like, if I gave you my top five bands, Black Sabbath would definitely not even be in my top 20. I love them, but they're not my they're not my top five.
Oh, I know.
Um, oh, you know now because I told you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so why do I like Streets of Rage 2? Now, I played all of the Streets of Rage games on the Genesis. I have not yet played Streets of Rage 4 yet. I will want to download it on Steam, but I want to get an actual good game controller for my laptop. But Streets of Rage 2, out of all of the three soundtracks, just sounds the catchiest and just sounds the grooviest out of all three of them. You play Streets of Rage 1, you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. Streets of Rage 2, it basically has one of the best soundtracks ever for the Sega Genesis. And among my favorite themes are, you have Go Straight, which is the very first stage. The baseball stadium theme is among one of the better ones as well. And the opening theme is good as well, from the piano opening to the kind of the melancholic sound. So having played all three Streets of Rage games on a consistent basis when I was a kid, I just remember always liking, two, the game itself the best and liking the soundtrack of the game itself the best. And Streets of Rage 3, compared to 2, is a huge letdown because instead of it being a catchy dance type of a song, it goes way overboard with the techno sound that's just not really, it doesn't really feel that pleasant to hear a lot of the times when you play the Streets of Rage 3. So Streets of Rage 2 is my number 3.
My number 3 would have to be Hatsune Miku Project Diva Future Tone, a rhythm-based game that started off with the Vocaloids released in Japan, which started off as like a little character for like a music creator and stuff. And they turned the series into like a rhythm-based game where like the singers and the performers stuff are actually all CG and seem live in concert and stuff. But I'm putting this one at number 3 because this game is fucking epic with all the cool ass songs. A lot of them are in Japanese, but there are a couple of them that are in English and stuff. And when it comes to like Vocaloid and stuff, there's tons of Vocaloid songs that are out there and stuff, tons and tons of them, to where like you'll never get bored. There's like so many of the soundtracks, so many of them, to where it's unstoppable. And I know you never played Hatsune Miku, I'm sure, because I don't think this game would be your cup of tea, Anthony, but that's just me.
Again, you're more into the Japanese PlayStation games than I am, like by a long shot, and that's okay. You do you, I do me. That's fine by me. Um, so, are there any so we're about to get into our top two, all right? Are there any other honorable mentions that are not part of your top two that you really want to just talk about or mention?
Yes, I do. In fact, before I get into that, Sedette the Hyperlamic could not make it today to talk about her favorite soundtracks and stuff, but she asked me to mention this for her that the new Pokemon game Legends Arceus music is beautiful, and a lot of the songs and the remixes of Diamond and Pearl themes, those are some of her favorites there. Since she said she wasn't able to make it today to mention this for her, I'm giving her the shot there, and hope you feel better, Sadet. We're praying that you feel better because I know you're not feeling well today. Before I get to my honorable mentions there.
Okay, now give a couple more honorable mentions, if you please.
Okay, an honorable mention for me would, well, of course, this is going to be an honorable mention I already mentioned at the beginning, Tekken 3 and stuff like that, which isn't going to be a big honorable mention because a lot of people know that I like the game there and stuff. But some
But why are you
honorable,
mentioning it again? We've already mentioned Tekken 3.
that's a joke. It's a joke, dude. It's a joke.
Okay.
But the Atelier soundtrack, I don't know, the Atelier series soundtrack and stuff, it's got a lot of those like village like town like songs there and stuff with the Japanese instruments and stuff. That's a big I mentioned there, especially so there's the Island series, the Dust series and all that stuff, and the Secret series, the Mysterious series stuff. So I just had to put that out there because still, Atelier is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time there. And another I would mention would be Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid's France soundtrack is amazing stuff by Harry Gregerson Williams there.
I don't
And
know which one. Which one? Metal Gear Solid One.
the first one, yes, first one is probably the best soundtrack of the bunch there. And another I'll mention would probably be Dino Crisis and stuff because it's got that horror that dinos being attacked by dinosaurs like to it and stuff. And another one would probably have to be if I can get.
Harry Gregson Williams started with Metal Gear Solid 2. He didn't do the first Metal Gear Solid 1.
Well, the Metal Gear Solid 1 soundtrack is my favorite of the bunch there. That's I'm a mention I mention because a lot of people know of that soundtrack anyway. And another,
I'm in.
oh, go
Oh
ahead.
no. Okay. Okay? You want one more honorable mention?
One more honorable mention, yes, but that would honorable mention for me would probably have to be like Crystar, which is a JRPG with that has a dark theme to it and stuff.
Oh, so
That's
you do like turn-based games?
turn-based RPGs, not strategy games. I don't
Oh,
like.
oh. God forbid you use your brain.
I know I don't like strategy games, and I'm gonna make a video in the future on why I hate strategy games. So be on the lookout for that, people. That's gonna be coming.
I won't
And
be watching it.
I'm gonna give one more honorable mention here before I
No,
give them. I just have
fine. One more.
one more honorable mention, but would probably have to be that's a tough one. There would probably be the Medal of Honor, original Medal of Honor. That was a good one right there, original Medal of Honor.
Okay, there's
Now,
your honorable mentions before we actually get to our top two. My number two will be Metal Gear Solid 3.
I knew it.
Well, because you've talked with me before.
I
All
know.
right.
That's why I'm new.
So, Metal Gear Solid 3 is my favorite of all the MGS games. It
Hmm.
is actually composed by Harry Gregson Williams, not by the other people. But what I like about it is it does have little tributes to the old Bond soundtracks. I like how every boss now has its own theme. Um, the alert themes sound really good. Like it just to me sounds miles above the MGS2 soundtrack,
And
which I also think was really good as well. And
not only that, it also the ending, the credit song is by one of my favorite bands, Star Sailor. Wait to Fall. If it weren't for
there
that
you go.
game,
Yeah, and I like I like that end song too. I remember every time I completed the game, thinking,
I,
"Oh, cool! I get to listen to this song again."
I love the band in general. It's one of my favorite bands of all time. That's what I mean there, Anthony.
No, that's great. And I was sipping water as you were saying that,
Oh,
hence the long pause.
that's okay.
Um, God, what are some of my themes that I liked from Metal Gear Solid 3? The Ocelot theme was really good. The Fury theme was really good.
Snake Eater, the theme song with the
Oh
Snake
yeah,
Eater.
the theme song Snake Eater was awesome.
Hmm.
Um, and of course the general Metal Gear Solid theme as heard in all the games is just really freaking good.
Oh, yeah, can't forget that.
God, and and then the themes that are playing when you're battling the Metal Gear in this game, the Shagohod, are also really good as well as the theme that's playing when both the non-alert version and the alert version when you're escorting Eva through the woods and you're having to fight off all the guards that are coming after you.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that game had a lot of memorable things. Like the original four Metal Gear Solid things had all the themes are memorable and stuff. Definitely.
I would agree with you there, but I just think 3 takes the cake. And now is but you're saying Metal Gear Solid 1 is your favorite of the soundtracks
It's my favorite
of the
game in
four?
the franchise. Also,
Okay, so what would be your favorite Metal Gear soundtrack, or is this actually part of your top two?
no, well, it's not a part of about. I mentioned it's Metal Gear Solid
O-
One soundtrack. Yes,
Okay, but so what is your favorite soundtrack of the Metal Gear Solid games, 1 through 4?
one. It's Metal Gear Solid One soundtrack.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at, but
I know.
you made it difficult as you
I
always
was.
do.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's my number two, and I would like to hear your number two.
My number two would probably have to be Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill 3 it's the best Silent Hill game. It also has the best soundtrack too, especially the theme song by Mary Elizabeth McGlynn and the ending song too, which is basically the Silent Hill 1 theme, but actually it adds lyrics to it and stuff. And Silent Hill 1 and 2 had great had great song stuff. No, don't get me wrong, it had great soundtracks too, hands down and stuff. But I'm saying there, it's just that Silent Hill 3 somehow did it better because Silent Hill 3 kind of had that Metal Gear Solid feel to it because it's very cinematic and everything like that, and had like some music that you only hear in the cutscenes, which makes it feel like a movie, like how it does with Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 and stuff. And Silent Hill 3 came out around the time Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, and was around the time Metal Gear Solid 2 was out, so that's why I'm bringing that up there. And
All
just,
right,
and now it's your turn.
my number one. All right, Chrono Trigger.
I was not expecting that at all. No way, not expecting that at
What
all.
were you expecting?
I was expecting something like Sonic or something
Well, I told you the
or
Sonic 2 game that I liked. I told you my favorite Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid game that I liked about in terms of the soundtracks. But Chrono Trigger is by far my favorite video game score of all time.
yeah, I never played Chrono Trigger. I only played Chrono Cross, so I have no say in this and stuff.
Well, Chrono Cross wasn't really. A lot of people were disappointed when they saw that Chrono Cross wasn't really the same, wasn't really related to Chrono Trigger. It was supposed to be in the same universe, but for people that really got into the characters in Chrono Trigger, they're like, oh, I don't get to play as them anymore. So Chrono Trigger has a really epic score that even if you listen to it on the Super Nintendo, it is as clear and as beautiful as you would have heard if it's heard directly to your ears from an orchestra.
Hmm.
So, happy themes, dark themes, epic themes. And what I love about it is there's been so many people on YouTube that have covered songs off of this one, and then there's been a lot of guys who make metal remixes of the Chrono Trigger songs, especially the Lavos themes, the final boss themes. But even the happy themes have been given a metal remix, and they make it work. There's just too many themes in this game to count. Where I just remember listening to this game for the first time, and then after several more gameplay listens, it would always stick with my head. It was actually so good that I actually downloaded the entire soundtrack and would have it on my iPhone or iPod at the time, just so I could listen to the songs on the go because I liked it too much.
Hmm. I can see
And
why
that's
there, but
so
me.
I mean, I did this for Metal Gear Solid 3 as well. So if there's a video game soundtrack that I really, really, really liked, it would usually end up on my iPod back when I was in high school. And Metal Gear Solid 3 and Chrono Trigger were the two that did that.
Yes, I can see why that's your number one. Now, my number one here, whoo, that is a tough one here because there's so many number ones. I'm gonna have to draw from the TTBurger hat here, shuffle it up here, and
Well,
make
that's
this.
not fair. I had this one prepared.
I,
You didn't have your number one prepared.
there's so many ties, but I'm gonna pull
No,
it.
and
I'm
that's why
pulling
you
it.
should have written
I'm
it
pulling it.
down, you little.
I'm pulling it out right now, and we got it right here. The Parasite Eve 2 soundtrack. And I know people thinking Parasite Eve 2, what about Parasite Eve 1? Well, they're both really good games, just Parasite Eve 2 just a little bit better because the gameplay was more like Resident Evil and stuff like that, and I'm a big fan of Resident Evil 3 and all that stuff in Resident Evil and the Resident Evil cast Resident Evil games. That's why Parasite Eve 2 was better than much. And while I know, go watch my reviews of Parasite Eve 1 and 2. And Parasite Eve 2, just like, I like it because like it has an American feel to it and a Japanese feel to it because like especially with the Mojave Desert theme and stuff where it's got that little do 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 yeah just that's actually one of the best songs in the game. And it feels like Resident Evil, feels like Parasite, it feels like its own game, feels American, feels Japanese and stuff. It's like what more could you ask for when it comes to that? I don't know, nothing. I mean, I'm sure Anthony has never played Parasite before. It's never, or so probably heard, but it's never played it before. But if you played, you know what I'm talking about there because it feels, it just the way, just the feeling of fighting mitochondria and all that stuff in the game. With that soundtrack there, it definitely takes the cake for sure.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised that most of the games that you picked were games I've never heard of or never played, and same here. But that's okay because we're trying to be together on this, and just instead of listing 10 soundtracks, we just listed 30 of them that were like, oh yeah, you definitely should be listening to this. And 30 is better than 10, right? That's more music options, I should say.
Right, I agree. Yes, and just if it comes to Parasite 2, that's one of the best soundtracks ever. And just it's definitely one of the, it's definitely step up the Parasite 1 soundtrack and stuff. And because like that game's more in depth and detail and stuff too. So it's a lot of stuff. So that's me in
Hmm.
my opinion. And that's pretty much our 10 best video game soundtracks. I gotta thank Death22, aka Anthony, for being a part of this here. And even though that Hyperlana could not come today because she wasn't feeling well, she wanted me to list her favorite soundtrack stuff. So I got to give her props too because she helped here with the video also. And that's pretty much it for this Burgers and Fries Game Talk with the Shake. What's gonna be in the next episode? Well, we'll have to find out next time. But all I gotta say, got anything else to say, Anthony?
If there is a next time.
There will be a next time. We're not going anywhere.
Oh, you say that.
We're not going anywhere. We're here the whole time. And don't forget that 200th episode is still being worked. Anthony here is
Oh,
helping.
sure it is.
Anthony here is helping me here, and it's going to be epic when it's done. But that's all I got to say. You got anything else to say before we wrap this up?
No, thank you guys for listening to us. Hopefully you guys liked our choices and agree. And if you disagree, either way, we'd like to hear your choices in the comment section.
And feel free to make a shut. And feel free to make a request of your own top 10 video game soundtracks if you want. Just feel free to make a request, and there you go. Which all I gotta say is it's Tony and Anthony. Tony and Tony. Anthony and Anthony. Peace out. And have a good day and see you all
That's a lame joke.
In the next video because the 20th episode is still being made. Take care, everybody.